lot of developers I've been talking to, they'll go in a story grooming session for an hour and they'll come out and have 2 stories done. And it's like, what? What's going on, YouTube? Been a while, but I'm back. I'm in a new space, looks a little different. This is super makeshift. I'm talking to a dog bed right now, panel over here. I got another dog bed back over here. This is my new office down in the basement that I just recently finished in here. I haven't done any treatment or anything, but hey, I want to get some content out to you guys. So today I want to talk about the big ceremony I want to go over is story grooming. The reason I picked story grooming as the next ceremony is because this is the one that recently kind of holds a little special place in my heart because it seems like nobody knows how to do this ceremony right. I might not even have the right answer for how to do it right. So let's jump in and talk about what story grooming is. The short version of story grooming is the development team gets together with the Scrum Master and the product owner, and you comb through, you groom stories in the backlog. You prioritize the backlog, you find out which stories are the top most important ones, you go into them, make sure they have the proper content, description, acceptance criteria, any questions developers might have that might impede their work that they can see just at face value, and then potentially, hopefully you're pointing maybe. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Ideally, story grooming session could be a half hour to an hour, so 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 5 minutes on a story. 6 stories get done in a 30-minute grooming session, maybe 10, maybe a little more in an hour one. That's what you're going for. What really happens? You get the whole team together, half the time, priority list, the product owner thinks something, Scrum Master's thinking something else, so there's no priority. And then when a story comes up, they're like, so what do we need to do to make the box go blue? And it's like, well, which box? What shade of blue? There's a lot of questions that pop up in story grooming that a lot of developers I've been talking to, they'll go in a story grooming session for an hour and they'll come out and have 2 stories done. And it's like, what? And the reason because, unfortunately, here in these remote times, 7 people are sitting there watching one person type. It's terrible. If your product owner or Scrum Master is just pulling up a Jira story and they're just typing what you're saying, stop that right now. Do not do that. Stop it. So how can we get away from some of these bad scenarios of story grooming? What are some things that work? I've only got a couple ideas that I have seen work. We ran into this with one of my own teams. We would go to a story grooming session, the product owner would be like, all right, so what do we want to work on? And it's like, well, dude, you're the product owner. So right away, we're bleeding in the sprint plan, and you don't understand as a product owner what you should be asking from your development team. That's a whole other video probably. So, okay, what do we want to work on? All right, well, we know of these 5 things. Okay, well, tell me. And he's just typing what we say, and it's like, here's what I found that kind of worked that we tried one sprint. We actually took the team lead and the product owner, put them in a room, and said, just high level, think of what needs to be worked on next sprint. Super high level. Change some boxes, something in the API, some responses. We want to add swagger. We want to do a little documentation, just high level. What do we want to work on? And give a 6 stories. I think I asked them for 6 stories. They came out of that meeting about 30 minutes, had 6 stories. I then took those 6 stories and met with the rest of my development team. And we went through those stories and fine-tuned, added all the details that we think we need in these stories for any developer on the team to pick up the story, work it, and match the acceptance criteria. Now, sometimes they didn't even have acceptance criteria. They were kind of leaving it on us because they're like, well, we don't know the technicalities of what needs to be accepted. That's fine. So we got met together probably for about a half hour, 40 minutes, and did that. So as you see, we already got about an hour total investment time. But again, these 2 met for 30 minutes, we met for 30 minutes. So really we're at still the 30-minute mark. Then we got everybody back together for technically a 3rd meeting. And we just took the list. We went one by one. We said, okay, you wanted high level this to be done. Here's the acceptance criteria. Here's the description. Here's any questions that we have for you on this. Do you have any questions for us when we wrote? And we got through those 6 stories. I think it ended up being 9 stories. We got through about 20 minutes. So the whole team together, 50 minutes. 50 minutes, we got through 9 stories. And if you heard me earlier, that's about a 6-minute average, 5-minute average on stories. It took us a little while to figure that out, but that's one idea that I've seen work is get your product owner together, get your team lead together and just say, hey, let's just talk high level. What do you want done? And then the team lead took it to, me, the tech lead. I got with the developer. We took those and we added a bunch of meat and potatoes to those stories. To recap, try something just different. That's really ultimately what you need to do. Try something different because what you're doing now isn't working. If you're going into a story grooming session and you're spending 30 to 60 minutes and you're coming out with 2 or 3 stories and you don't feel great about it, you're doing it wrong. Plain and simple, you're doing it wrong. Stop. Do something different. And when you do something different, no, it might not fix the problem. It might be the same thing, but you did something different. And that's all you need to do is just try something different. That's Agile. Let's try something different. Take my suggestion. Have your product owner, tech lead, your team lead, have one technical person get together, talk high level. What do we need to work on? What's the priority for the next sprint? Take that, meet with your developers and be like, do we have everything we need? What questions will we have around this that could be some oh gotchas? And then regroup with your product owner and groom those stories. 50 minutes, I think, total time for your team, and you should get anywhere from 6 to 10 stories done.